Hi, I'm Kathy Davis, Davis Creative Publishing Partners. I welcome you to the August 10th, 2023 Inspiring Author Conversations. Today, we'll be speaking with Rhonda Travers about intentional networking, making your minutes matter. Before we welcome Rhonda, just a few logistical details. The call is being recorded, and you'll receive a link to the YouTube video within about 48 hours after this call. Please mute yourself. We talked about that. And find your chat button down at the bottom of your screen. Type any of your questions into the chat box, and I'll be watching that to make sure we get those questions directed to Rhonda. We promise to end the recording around noon or 12:15 shortly thereafter, so we can all get back to the business of the day. Our theme for 2023 is growing your business by the book. Each month, we interview experts who share wisdom, ideas, and opportunities to help authors grow their businesses. Help me welcome Rhonda Travers. Rhonda is a business-oriented leader recognized for making a positive impact, building talent, and driving results. As founder and president of Travers Training and Consulting, she works with organizations and owners to develop tools and techniques needed to increase engagement and productivity. Rhonda leverages her 30 years of corporate leadership, you're not that old, and consulting experience to share insight through people advisory services, workshops, and speaking engagements. After earning her Bachelor of Science in Accounting from Millikan University, Rhonda completed the Certified Internal Auditor, Certified Public Accountant, as well as Master Practitioner and Certified Trainer of Neuro-Linguistic Programming NLP certifications. Phew, I got through that and I didn't trip on my tongue. Awesome. So welcome, Rhonda. And today, I'm thrilled you could be here.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here and excited to share about intentional networking, making your minutes matter. And by starting with this, I'm just going to share my screen and make sure that everyone can see that. Please indicate if you can't. Move that down a little bit. And I like to start making things interactive with a question. And that is, type in the chat, or since I can see everybody here, hold up your fingers. If you're a number one that you dread going to networking events, you would rather color code your sock drawer than go to a networking event. So either type one in the chat or raise your finger on one. And raise the right finger, please. Now, number five, maybe you're on the spectrum of five, where networking is a good way to meet new people. It's a nice social experience, having some coffee, having a good conversation. So maybe you would rate yourself a 5 when it comes to networking. Or lastly, maybe you're a 10. So type in the chat if you're a 10. You are a networking guru. You have it all spelled out. You are consistent with how you network, and it's really helping you with your business goal. So what types of numbers do we have in the chat, Kathy?
Rachel's a 9.
All right.
Kim's a 5. Julie's a 3. Pam is either a 9 or a 7. And for me, it depends on the day. I could be one of those. I could be a 1, 5, or a 10. Just kind of depends.
Yeah, it is definitely how we rate ourselves is probably because of an experience that we've had in the past with networking. So perhaps in the past, you would, when you're asked, so what do you do? Perhaps you freeze up because you really don't know what to say. Or you're on the flip side that you are so passionate about what you're talking about and explaining it in every single detail with the person you're speaking with, you find yourself running out of time every single time you go to a networking event. Or raise your hand or type in the chat if you've experienced you're talking to someone at a networking event and maybe they're doing one of these, they're checking their watch, or they're looking at this, they're checking their phone, or you feel like they're like scanning the room while you're trying to talk to them. Who's experienced that? Raise your hand if you've experienced that.
Especially if you're short and the person's tall, because then they just kind of scan the horizon, and that's when I go, okay, I gotta go. Bye.
Now, I'm guilty of this. Do you go to networking events and leave with a stack of cards? I don't know if you can see these or not.
Mhm.
And then you intend, and like, oh, hey, we need to get on each other's calendar. And then you never do. You never follow up. These just kind of go in your purse, your drawer, or like for me, just sitting here staring at me at my desk. So these are some challenges to networking, but there's so many great reasons of why we network. So think about what you do, either as an author or as an author and the other things that you do. You network to market research, right? You want to stay relevant with who you serve. So good part of networking is to perform that networking market research. Or perhaps you're building strategic relationships. You want to meet others and build your sphere of influence of networking because you can collaborate and create a more comprehensive product or experience to the same clients that you both serve as a collaborative effort. Or who, raise your hand, networks to build referral partnerships, where the more you learn about what each other does, you can start referring each other to help with your businesses. And then lastly, who networks just to reach the prospects and the audience that you're trying to serve directly, that you're trying to reach out. There's so many benefits of networking. So for those of you who are more on the spectrum of a 3 or a 5, where it's just a nice social experience, or you're just going to stay home to color code your drawer, is networking helps you with giving those first impressions of what others think about your credibility, your personality, and also helps start building that rapport. Because the center of around any business relationship is the rapport, and the effectiveness of that relationship is impacted by the rapport that you're building as you grow and get to know that person. And then lastly, networking helps you with your sphere of influence, becoming that one-stop shop, so that when you're talking to someone and you're hearing the type of need that they have, if the wider your sphere of influence is, you can easily connect them to somebody else. And that improves and helps your reputation in the profession that you're in. I'm going to pause a little bit and share my journey of networking with you. So like Kathy said in the introduction, I have a 30-year corporate career in internal audit, risk management, and compliance. So what that means is I had to tell people what they're doing wrong nicely for 30 years. And since then, I hired and managed hundreds of employees. I also worked with business leaders on process improvement, where my area of expertise was with HR. And my philosophy was always, people need the tools, training, and support to be successful with whatever they do. But my journey with networking started when I was a senior in college. Senior in college, studying for the CPA, an accounting degree, and my auditing professor encouraged everybody to go to this networking event at night. Now, think about when you're a college senior. What is the last thing you really want to do on a weeknight? Do you really want to spend the whole entire night with a bunch of boring adults? That was my attitude going into this networking event. However, I sat at a table of internal auditors. Now, back in the 90s, because when I was 10 years old as a accounting major, like, Kathy said, I started young. Back then, the career path was public accounting. So sitting with a table of internal auditors, I didn't really know what that was about, because all I heard about was public accounting. So I asked a lot of questions and had a lot of fun. And the next day I was asked to appear in a job interview, be ready to go. And that changed the trajectory of my entire corporate career. And why I'm able to speak with you today is because of my networking experience back then. Now, things have changed over time of why I network. And fast forward through my career, when my entire internal audit department was dissolved in one of my employers due to an acquisition, my purpose for networking changed. I wanted to network with others who could connect me to the companies to share my resume. And now, since I launched my own business in 2021, My purpose for networking is different. My purpose for networking is market research. I want to make sure that I'm staying relevant in today's world with the challenges that are coming up of who I serve. I also network to build referral partnerships. Kathy and I are referral partners. We're in the same couple of different groups. And the more I get to know what Kathy does, I can refer her, of which Kathy, I just mentioned your name twice to 2 different people this week.
Thank you.
And then vice versa. The more that she gets to know what I do, she can refer me to others. So the power of networking is really high, and it's going to help you achieve your business goals with what you do as an author and as what you do in other areas of your business. And so that's why I want to share 3 C's with you today. Create a plan. Basically, know before you go to a networking event. Second, connect. How do you build rapport with others? And then lastly is to carry it out. How do you follow up with others? So think about the different types of networking. And I'm very curious, type in the chat, how many networking events do you all go to in 1 week? How many networking events? And Kathy, it looks like someone's in the waiting room. Do you want me to admit them?
There they are.
Okay.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. It just popped up on my screen.
I appreciate that.
So think about the different events that you go to that are networking events. Maybe you go to a specific event or a business meeting, a chamber of commerce. Maybe you're a part of a professional association. That's all networking opportunities. Maybe you meet with folks one-on-one. So what types of responses are we getting in the chat?
So I usually do 1 to 2. Some weeks maybe 3, but then I may have a week that has 0. Rachel's going 3 to 5 times. Kim Carr has a 0. Kim, now I also know that you're involved in your artist community, and that in a way could be looked at as networking also.
Absolutely.
And Pam is 1 to 2. She attends a weekly networking group online for a community. Julie is talking about less than 1, maybe 2 a month. And Kim decided to say she's going with 1 to 2 a week or month, whichever.
So there's so many ways that we network in group situations, in one-on-one meetings. And with that, starting with creating a plan, it's important to know before you go to that type of event, to know a couple of different things. One is, what is your why? So I hope that everyone has a piece of paper and a pen, because understanding why and why you do what you do, why you're an author, why you are a business owner, why you are doing what you do every single day is very important. So take a moment to write down your why. Why are you an author? Or if you're also, is that part of your overall business? Why are you a business owner? My why is to help people with their people. I'm very passionate, going back to people need the tools, training, and support to be effective. So I want to help organizations with their people. I'm very passionate about that too, which then goes to, what are your strengths? So take a moment to write down your 3 strengths. What makes you different? What sets you apart? Because having all of this in your back pocket before you even go to a networking event will help with how you show up there and how you're going to build that business relationship. So my 3 strengths are, I'm passionate. I am passionate about helping people with their people and helping with their learnings and being successful in their leadership and their development. I'm also very energetic, as you could probably tell. And lastly, I have expertise in process improvement. So I know how to improve that's how my brain thinks. So what are your 3 strengths? The next thing to have in your back pocket before you go is your marketing minute, that 60-second commercial, if you will, and being ready to share that when you're asking a question. So Kathy, I'm going to ask if you can ask me, what do you do?
Hi, Rhonda. What do you do?
Well, I am founder and president of Travers Training Consulting, and I do speaking engagements, and I do training workshops, and I do HR business consulting. I help people from the time they hire to the time they fire. And I also offer a 30-minute complimentary consultation. So if you know anybody, can you refer them to me?
I would love to.
Oh, but let's pause here for just a second. How did that make you feel? How did that little 1-minute version of my commercial, when you don't know me from anyone, how does that make you feel? Do you feel that the focus was on, I do this and I do that? And did you feel like I was rushing and just keep going and going and going? I currently read a great analogy about 10,000 nails. If you're a new home owner and you're building your first home, what is your interest level with that home? Would you really want your contractor to sit down with you and explain all 10,000 nails that he's going to be using to build your home? Anybody? Is that an area of interest? So have you been at networking events where you meet someone, you ask that question, what do you do? And they just give you so much information, you're either overwhelmed or distracted or disinterested. Who has experienced that? So
I've been to, there's one gentleman that does a lot of networking in St. Louis, and he does his little spiel so fast, you can't understand a word. I mean, he's got it memorized down to the word, but you can't, it just kind of all blurs together.
Yeah. And that's truly a risk, is number one, if you have it too rehearsed, then, you kind of get that vibe of, okay, is he really feeling what he's saying? Is he really authentic around what he's doing? It's okay to be different when someone asks you, but having these components here, knowing your why, knowing your strengths, and putting together that marketing moment, it might change. If someone asks me tomorrow what I do, it's not going to be the same as what I just said today. So it's going to be different. But putting it together to say, and if Kathy, if you wouldn't mind asking me again, what do I do?
So tell me, Rhonda, what do you do?
Well, Kathy, thank you so much for asking that question. I work with organizations and owners who really want to invest in their employees, increase their retention, and increase their productivity. I'm lucky to have such a great background that's how I share insight with others, is through different things, such as speaking engagements or training workshops. But I really want to help people with their people. It is crazy to think that it costs $12,000 every single time one person leaves an organization. I want to help companies save money. So do you see how that's different than the other time that you asked me, what do I do? So it all's around, what are you wanting to share? As an author, who's your audience that you're speaking to? Who do you want to resonate with you and the message that you have in the type of book that you're writing? And so thinking about, incorporating that into your marketing minute of who is a nonfiction author? Who has written nonfiction? Pam. Oh, and Rachel and Kathy. Oh, everybody. Wonderful. So instead of saying, if someone asks you, what do? You say you're an author. How about saying something like, I help others embrace relaxation, because you're putting them in a different world. You're giving them an experience so that they can escape from reality and relax. So those are things that you do as an author versus just going with, I'm an author. Being in corporate, I was so conditioned when people ask what you do to say, oh, I'm the assistant vice president of internal audit. Well, really, what does that mean? So if you say I'm an author, what does that mean? So start with who you serve. What audience, what are you speaking around that captures that attention when you've got 1 minute to share that what you do with others? And with that, lastly, is knowing your audience and knowing who you're talking to and what's going to resonate with them when you're talking to them, which then leads into rapport. We have 7 seconds to create a first impression. So how you approach somebody at a networking event and start a conversation will really impact the rapport that you have with them and the continued opportunity to build a business relationship from that rapport. And so help me finish the sentence here. Anybody can go off of mute. People do business with those that they know, like, and trust. So people do business. And so trust comes from being authentic and developing that rapport. What is that vibe that you get from somebody when you first meet them? Now, as authors, you have the gift of words. You are creating words and a personal experience when you communicate through a book. However, building rapport when you communicate with others outside of having written words, there's 3 parts to it. So words are actually 7%, totally opposite from giving the gift of words through a book as an author, where words mean everything. You're creating that experience 100% through words. You're not there to narrate it for them. But when you're talking to others, especially when you're networking and building that rapport, words are only 7%. Tone is 38%. Tone is inflection. It's your volume of your voice. If I started off this presentation going, I'm excited to be here today. I'm here to talk to you about intentional networking. What would you think? Would you start multitasking, turning yourself off a camera and doing some other things? Because I mean, that tone is not going to resonate and build rapport with you, right? So it'd be a long 30 minutes if I talk to you in this type of tone. And what if I just kind of, you know, with my physical presence, did my whole presentation like this? How would you feel about this? Because your physiology is your posture, your facial expressions, your breathing. And so how you network with others and how you build that rapport is how you enter that room and start talking to others. What is the most impactful thing that you can do without using words and without using your voice, but using totally physiology? Anyone can come off and mute and share this. What's the one thing that you can do? Yes, Rachel's got it. Smile. That's the easiest thing, because if you're smiling and you're walking down the hall with somebody, what are they going to do next? They're going to smile too. When you're talking to someone, you start smiling with them, they're going to normally smile back. So that is so important with building rapport. And lastly is, how are you carrying things out? We can't connect with everybody in a room. You want to be very thoughtful about how you connect with others to make your minutes matter. So understanding your why and what type of relationships to form, align those business relationships, connect with 3 to 4 people. And when you're connecting with others, identify that call to action. Sometimes you meet with others and they start talking, you start explaining with your 1-minute commercial what you do, and you listen to what they're doing. And you're like, gosh, I really would like to learn more. Let's set up a time to get together. Have that call to action. Get your calendars out right there on your phone and set up a meeting. Or perhaps they say, you know what? I want to introduce you to Susie. Susie would be a great prospect for you. That's a call to action. So that is something as a result of you meeting with them at a networking event. So then it goes to the follow-up. How are you following up with them? The lesson is, the learning is, for every 1 hour of networking that you do, spend 1 hour to follow up. On the social media platform that you both share, like I use LinkedIn the most, I make sure after a networking event, after I've really connected with a few people, I go back in 24 to 48 hours and I connect with them on LinkedIn. And I remind them how we met, because we meet so many people on a daily basis, right? So remind them of how you met. It was so great to meet you yesterday at such and such meeting. Thank you for the offer to introduce me to Susie. So you're reminding them of what that call to action was, and it's going to be easy for them to remember. And then thank them for their time. Maybe your call to action is to meet to learn more about what each other does. Include that in your follow-up as well. But the more you follow up and the more frequently you follow up after you've met that person, that is going to help with making intentional connections and intentional networking. So we talked about creating a plan, connecting with others, and carrying things through and following up. And I asked you a couple of questions at the very beginning about what's your why? Who are you resonating with? Who are you writing for? Who do you want to hear your story with what you're offering? And then what sets you apart? What are your strengths? So if you have some paper, I'm going to go off. I'm going to stop sharing in just a second. After about a minute, think about these things. And I would love to have a volunteer who would like to share their marketing minute. And before we close with that, I just want to offer again, I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today. If you'd like to learn more about engaging with others, building business relationships, or taking it that next step after you network and having what to do with a follow-up meeting with somebody to make it a win-win situation for both of you and the other person, I'd love to just continue the conversation. The QR code is there so that we can connect. And with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so we can work on, as long as we have a few more minutes, I'm not sure what the cutoff is, of putting your marketing minute together and sharing one takeaway from today's points.
We've got about 10 minutes.
Okay.
We're good.
Okay. So has everyone had a moment to write down what their why is, of why they offer, and who are you offering to? What audience are you offering to? And then lastly, what sets you apart? Has everyone had a chance to write those components down? I'll give you a few more seconds. And I can even put that back on the screen here.
Yeah, that might be good.
While they're doing that, I'm going to catch up on chat.
I know I was at this has been several years ago, and there was a gentleman that came in for a group. It was the St. Louis Publishers Association, was talking about how to do a 1-minute reply. When someone says, "Hi, I'm so-and-so, what's your name? What do you do?" How to give a 1-minute reply. And so the example that I remember that he gave was, let's say you're a baker and your response, and you want to give kind of like shock value. And according to this guy, I don't even remember who he was, but he said, let's say you're a baker and you sell, in the mornings, you're open for donuts and pastries and coffee and stuff like that. So your response could be, "I sell air." And then the person asking you goes, "What?" They want to know more about that. Well, he was referring to the donut hole itself. You're not just selling the donut around it, you're selling the donut hole. And to kind of think of a different way to come back with so tell me, what do you do? And
that's why, like, for example, if you write fiction, you could say, "I help people escape and relax."
mm-hmm.
And that's going to be an intention. Oh, well, tell me more. As someone else in another group that I've talked to about this, she introduces herself as the hair whisperer. Now, doesn't that grab your attention, being a hair whisperer?
Yeah.
That's going to grab someone's attention. And I mean, I think back of all the years where I would just start with my title, and how boring is that? No one wants to know my title, so you just getting more involved with, now I say, well, I work with organizations and owners with their people, so it helps with that. Or I help organizations save $12,000. Hopefully that catches people's attention. So
I know I've used,
oh,
I think
go
we've
ahead.
got some comments in the chat if you want to
Okay.
unshare, and we can get to those.
Yes, absolutely.
Let's see where they go. Let's see. Oh, Kathy, you just wrote the whole thing down. Awesome. Do you want to come off mute and there we go.
Yeah, there. Am I off mute? Yeah. No, yeah. So anyway, I just would written it down, so I didn't know if we were supposed to share it on chat or what we were supposed to.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's just that somebody else had told me one time. I asked. She said, "What do you think the best thing you do?" And I said, "Oh, I share complex things with people in a way they understand and can use." And she goes, "Yeah, you do that, but what you really do is you connect the right people to the right people for their mutual benefit." And I thought, I'm gonna own that. So that's my big why, I guess. My big what or whatever.
You're a connector.
Yeah, I'm a connector. Or had been before the pandemic.
Would anyone else like to share their 1 minute?
I actually need help with my 1 minute. Like,
Okay.
I help with different organizations, and I'm always like the behind the scene person. So when I have to ever speak or whatever networking thing, I like freeze up. So they're always like, "Oh, you got everything organized." Yep, that's what I do. Like, I'm not here. Kathy will tell you, like, if it's time for us to do 1 minute, I'm like, "Oh, I have to go out and check registration." Like, I hate it. So because I'm always so nervous of like what I'm supposed to say or whatever. So I kind of need help with that. Just having something like Kathy, when she comes and she does hers, it just rolls off her tongue, and I'm so impressed. Like, I'm like, I can't do, like, I would be stuttering over my words, so.
I've stuttered. Yeah.
No, you don't. You just like,
Yes, yesterday did come off a little smoother than I thought, but yeah.
like I'm so.
Thank you. Yeah.
So, but yeah, so I'm a virtual assistant, and I own my own business. So it's like I want to help other small business owners with their administrative needs so they can focus on their clients. Like, I want to do all of that so they don't have to worry about that and just focus on helping their clients. So that's kind of what I'm at, but I don't know how to put that to make it flow. Like, Kathy helped me with my business motto of like, I will help you keep your business flowing so you can keep your business growing, kind of thing. But yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at.
A lot of it is what's in it for them. So what problems are you solving? And so you're helping with time. You're saving people time. And you're the glue that holds them together. So, and so focus on with what you do, because, administrative tasks, okay, but like other tasks that you do, what are you serving? Like, how are you helping them? And the biggest thing I think of is you're saving them time, you're saving them energy. And, so focus on 2 or 3 problems that you solve and start with that.
Okay.
And that you work with small businesses and you help save business owners time.
Yeah, I've introduced Julie more than once as Julie's my right hand, left brain savior. It's like, because I don't have that left brain logic at all. And Julie loves Excel spreadsheets, and I just like fog over. It's like, I don't know which column I'm supposed to be looking at. Yeah.
I love Excel
brain. It's a whole brain. It's not your left brain anymore. It's your whole brain.
I got to come to your class too. But yeah.
So,
Julie, I think you relieve a lot of stress.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you are a big stress reliever, and allows me to sleep at night.
Also, Julie, I kind of feel like you're magic. Like, I can ask you to help with anything and you I mean, I don't know if you want to be like that creative, but seriously, like, I know you're going to figure something out, and you always do. And so you like Kathy says, like, you relieve so much stress that I literally don't have to think about it once I send stuff to you.
Oh, thank you.
You should
that's
market
very
stress
helpful.
balls. Put stress balls with your logo on it to say, you're a stress reliever.
Oh, that's a good idea.
I've also heard Erin Joy describe you as the golden unicorn.
Really?
Yes, because she said no matter what I would ask Julie to do, she could do it, and she did it better than I can think of anybody else that would do it.
Oh, that's awesome. Awesome. That's an awesome presentation.
And see how that puts all together your strengths. So you're
Yeah.
hearing from Kathy what other people see in you as your strengths. So able to say, I'm the golden unicorn. But it goes back to what problem are you solving using those strengths? So
Right.
how are you helping them solve a problem by using those strengths?
Okay. I just don't want to feel like like conceited or like I'm tooting my own horn kind of thing. But
And
so
that's what
I
we
have
all
to be
feel.
careful at the words, I guess I use, because I don't want
Yeah.
it to come across that way at all.
But if you focus on, I help others, I help business owners, and then state their problem. It's, this is the problem, that it's their problem that you're helping with. So the
Okay.
focus is on the problem and not, this is my title and things like that. But
Rhonda,
it's easy to default. Like I mean, like I said, for years, I was just conditioned name, title. And so focusing more on, no, this is the problem I'm solving. It puts it more on them versus you.
Okay.
Rhonda, were you at the Lois Kramer workshop,
Yes.
the one-off? Yeah.
Where she talks about, I work with, and then
Yeah.
you fill in the blank and say, so for me, it's like, I work with organizations and owners. And then you say who want to, and then you fill in the blank of the problem that you solve. And so I work with owners who want to increase their employee engagement and retention. And then how do you do that? What strengths do you use to help them with that? So it's a 3-part type of exercise that you can do using these things in your back pocket.
And Kathy Bernard's got a good comment, Julie, or say companies hire me too, and then fill in the blank. Which is kind of what's her name yesterday that does all the computer organization skills, Jennifer.
Oh, Jennifer. Mhm.
Yeah.
Sure.
But yeah, I've got Lois's format around here somewhere that I can, once I find it, I'll email it. I can email it unless you have it, Rhonda. I can email it to everybody on this call. It's just a fill in the blank sheet that Lois uses. And be happy to share that with everybody.
I'd have to find it, or I can just type it out and send it to you.
Yeah.
Because I have it in my notes.
Good.
But it's a great format to start with for sure. And then build on from there. Does anyone else want to share their 1 minute?
Was that a head shake yes, Pam, or were you just kind of talking to yourself?
I said to myself, I don't have that yet. I'm gonna have to like think on it. I know what I do, but I'm not exactly sure the problem I solve yet. I mean, I know what I think I do, but I want to do it in a creative way. Yeah. So
I call it the wake up in the middle of the night worry. What do they wake up in the middle of the night worried about? That they would come to you to find that relief. And then what is that relief that you offer?
I have to think about that.
Yeah. Well, and as Julie knows very well, mine has changed and morphed over the last 6 or 7 years, several times. And I think the one we're using now is pretty safe, but who knows?
What do you say? What do you say now, Kathy?
I work with speakers, trainers, coaches, and consultants to publish books which share their wisdom, inspire more people, and change the world.
I love that.
And sometimes I take the third one, I change that off and on depending on the audience. Because change the world might be too aggressive for a group of bankers and CPAs.
Very
You know,
true.
they might not care about anything other than their immediate room, you know? So
And that goes back to know before you go.
Yeah.
That the first C of the 3C model is know your audience. So the way you might introduce yourself in your 1-minute commercial to a bunch of CPAs, hey, some CPAs can be fun here. But you know, but is different. You know, for example, the way I introduced myself when I spoke at a leadership conference in front of managers and leaders of organizations was different than how I introduced myself to at a Missouri employment conference in front of HR professionals. Because leaders, they want to know what I bring to the table for managerial skills, leadership development, and things like that. HR professionals, they want to know why the heck an auditor is talking to them about HR. Do I really understand HR challenges and what they're facing on a daily basis? So like Kathy said, that's a perfect example that she changes that last piece of changing the world to something different based on her audience. So it goes back to know your audience before you go.
if it's a less creative audience, I'll usually say make an impact. You know, because their impact may be the bottom line, or their impact, you know, maybe whatever they define it, but yeah. So this has been fascinating. So Rhonda, are there any last words of wisdom? And I also know that you had the one freebie with your QR code for people to access for the consultation. And if we could get that link, we'll make sure it goes out in the follow-up email. And then at the same time, you had talked about an employee engagement quiz.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that, and we'll include that link also.
Okay, yeah, I can definitely, let me share this again. So how that works is, here's my QR code, but I can definitely give you
If you
the
give me a
link
second, I'll
to-
take a picture.
Okay, but it's traverstraining.com is the website. And so I always offer a 30-minute complimentary consultation to explore and brainstorm with you on some solutions of what your current need is. You know, so if you want to learn more about communication or and networking or anything in your business, then, you know, please schedule. So I have a book with me option on my website. I also offer free weekly business tips and leadership development tips on LinkedIn through Travers Tuesday Tip. And also on my website, if you have a team that you manage, I have an employee engagement quiz, and that's free to download. And it will identify areas where there's opportunities to increase engagement with those that you lead. And that is free for you. And also, I also encourage, if you're going to download that, if you have employees or team members that you'd like to learn more about, take that first. And then in our call, we can go over results. We can brainstorm on ways to bridge those gaps so that you can increase engagement and have a cohesive team environment.
Awesome. And any parting words of wisdom before we close out here for the day?
My biggest thing is be authentic. I'm really, rapport and trust is the core of any relationship. And networking is just having a conversation. It's just sharing what you do, showing your passion, showing why you do what you do, why you're spending time. And it's just having a conversation with others to see how you can connect. I mean, just it's the connection piece, knowing that how you can connect others so that they can be successful is the biggest thing. And the larger your sphere of influence is and the more authentic it is with that, just the greater you're going to grow and you're going to help other people grow. So I think that's my
I love that.
piece.
Yeah. Thank you. So Rhonda, thank you so much for being here. I know I enjoyed it very much, and I always learn something new whenever we talk. I want to thank the audience also, the live audience, for being here today and supporting us. We'll be watching, you'll be watching for the follow-up email that'll have all of Rhonda's links and contact information in it. And schedule our next Lunch and Learn Inspiring Author Conversations will be September 14th at 11:30 a.m. We'll be talking with Pooja, I hope, Arshana Pali, about crafting an effective social media strategies in building your personal brand. So I hope you can be with us then. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Reach out if you have any questions.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
very much.
Rhonda.
Thank you,
Thank
Rhonda.
you.
It was great meeting
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Bye.